Okay. So I will gavel the opinion. Thanks everyone for attending, Menlo Park Fire Protection District Board of Directors meeting on August 19th, 2025 at 7:19 and 40 seconds. So roll call, Michelle.
Director Bernstein,
Present.
Director Bloom.
Here.
Director Jones.
Here.
Director Crawley.
Present.
And Director Sawano is absent.
Absolutely. Can we stand, say the pledge of allegiance, please? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We had a closed session meeting and we have nothing to report at this particular time. Public comments, Michelle.
We have no raised hands, so we have the public comments.
Okay, that's gonna sound like we're gonna get out of here pretty quick today. We go to item number one, chief report.
You, Director Jones, members of the board, the public that may be zooming in. Happy to share with you this August fire police report. Just to begin with, a facilities update with the Station 1 design. I will point out what the differences are, because oftentimes you look at the fire station 1 update, you're like, it's changed. So I went through and compared to the prior month. The substantive changes are always under the funding. That is changing just as our fund, CIP fund balance goes up and down and how much we've expended on projects. So still the remaining funding needed based on the original projections were good. It's not changing. Yes.
What you just did verbally, I was gonna ask if there was some way you could do that with the written document
Sure.
also. Either put it in anything
Highlight or
new,
bold or
highlighted
something.
or red or italics or something, because I never know.
You're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just printed off last month, it just went down. So yes, then next month we'll have highlighted the items that are new.
Okay, thank you.
But I'll go through the remaining ones under updates. On that first bullet point or under the update, first sentence is the same. The remaining comments are being addressed. And the new part is the plans will be resubmitted to the city by the end of August. So that is a new addition to it. So they're going to go back to the city by the end of August. And then next line down, next bullet point down in its entirety is new. And that has to do with our fire station outreach. So we're beginning neighborhood outreach. Anytime we do a big change, build a fire station or make significant changes, we hold neighborhood meetings. So we're beginning our neighborhood outreach. And as you can see, we have our first neighborhood meeting tentatively scheduled for November 10th. It'll be at Fire Station 1 in the apparatus bay. That'll be an evening meeting. I think we're shooting for 6 p.m. so people can get home from work and come over there. And we're just looking to get some feedback from neighbors. We'll figure out
I
for a meeting
probably
like
wanna
that,
go.
how many,
That August
we
is
have
what?
more than
September
2 board
10th.
members and
Or,
meetings like that.
November.
I don't want to change spot.
I want to attend.
Agendize it if we would, okay, if more than 2 board members want to attend, let us know. We'll work with legal counsel on how to
Chuck,
properly
you wanna do
agendize it.
I'll probably be there.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
probably be there.
I won't be there. I wanted to, but that's
Director
okay.
Bloom will
If
probably
we don't-
be
You
there.
guys,
No, we
you
can-
guys are Menlo
We can
Park.
do the meeting.
If you
You
don't
guys-
participate, there's
I don't
never
know,
been a
we'll
problem.
just work with legal counsel to make sure we don't violate the
That's
ground.
okay, that's good. I'm good.
Yeah, so mark that on your calendars, for 6 p.m. on November 10th. We'll send
Makes sense.
an appointment out to you also, so you. Also new is the next bullet point down. Previously, it had said the city was working on an RFP. Now they've completed the RFP and they're going to distribute it the week of August 11th. Other than that, everything else is the same as the prior one. And yeah, as requested, we'll highlight those changes
The new one.
moving forward.
Chief, I have just a quick
Sure.
question on that. Do you have a expectation of when the report would be done and issued?
I do not know on the, for the.
The environmental.
Stuff, I don't know, I'll check with Jim. Got it. Nothing under recruitments and promotions, but on an update for what's been happening in our community engagement unit. Quite a bit going on. We had a presentation at Snowflake, which is one of our local businesses with about 800 employees. They had a table, we had a table at their safety fair, and then we taught Red Cross Ready emergency preparedness to some of their employees. We also did a CPR class for members of the Menlo Park City staff. Fire extinguisher training for staff at Sandhill Assisted Living. Monthly CPR Stop the Bleed Red Cross Ready classes like we do every month. We also did a CPR class for the Bellhaven Community Group. Stop the Bleed class for Meta employees, and event-wise, we had usually one Saturday per month, we have an open house at our Station 6 museum, which we did. And we had 40 people attend that. And then there was a San Mateo County Disaster Prep Day attended by 1,600 people. We had a booth sponsored by our CERT folks, and also our drone band was out there for kind of a show and tell. National Night Out, busy night. We had 19 events. I'll also talk a little bit about that in other parts of my chief's report. Ecumenical Hunger Program had an anniversary pancake breakfast, and Engine 2 attended. And we also had a school visit at Oak Mill School with 50 students. And then our CERT group provided firefighter rehab. We had a large drill out at the rescue site for PG&E. And they also participated just this last Saturday in a drill over behind the Redwood City Costco on the train tracks, where it was a joint Caltrain fire exercise. And mostly the CERT folks filled in as victims for the scenario. Moving on, no new news in the new development update, but I will leave that on there to share with you anything that is changing. I wanted to share with you, I've got this FEMA notice of funding timing. This is a similar issue to what happened last year, and it's just sharing with the board that FEMA put out on July 28th the notice of funding opportunity, and we have an obligation to apply for it in a very short window. So posted on July 28th, and it closed 13 days later on August 11th. So we have, like we did last year, submitted for the opportunity. At September's board meeting, we'll come in and ask for the board to approve our submittal. The board doesn't have to, but it's an unfortunate thing that happens with the feds and the FEMA things where we need to do those things in advance. So I just wanted to share that with you. Special study sessions. Thank you. All 5 of our board members participated in the survey that was put out. So we actually have a list of priority items. I'm going to have Director Jones share our list during his president's report. And we will identify 1 or 2. The first 2 are certainly meaty, meaning that we can put 2 on the agenda, and if we don't get to 2, it's perfectly fine for us to conclude after 1 and move the other one to a future. So Michelle Canayer will reach out to you now that we've got some items, trying to find a convenient date. We'll target a weekday evening, 6 o'clock start time, so people can make it there. Be a separate board meeting. We're not going to try and tag it on to one of our board meetings and do it on later. So I think that's the way for it to be most productive. But again, thank you for your feedback on the survey. Heads up, everyone, pancake breakfast is coming at Station 1 on Saturday, October 25th. Please join us here. It is a huge event. If anyone, some of these things, since I wasn't here last month, are things that happened that didn't get reported out. So some of them are a little bit old, but if you're wondering what Spook Mentoring is, I was invited by there's a San Mateo County leadership group with public employees that set up an event at the public library, and it was kind of like speed dating, but with mentoring. So I was serving as a mentor, and we had trying to think, I must have had 8 different people that rotated in. You had like 10-minute conversations with somebody and they were supposed to come with questions that were important to them. Like, how do you deal with conflict at work or things like that? But yeah, I was really happy to be invited. It was a variety of folks in leadership positions throughout the county that were at the tables and just sharing information for people that were kind of on their way up and looking at people that had a little bit of experience. So nice to be invited, nice to attend. I had done something similar to that in my prior job. The Elks Lodge, I know Chief Coyle mentioned it, but I attended that on June 26th, where we honored Engineer Tony Ramirez in recognition of his leadership in the cadet program. Awesome, really sweet. His whole family attended. Director Solano was there also. Really nice event honoring our first responders, fire and law enforcement both.
Was that, did y'all give us notice on that? Cause I've been to that in the past, but I didn't get a notice on that.
No, I don't know that we sent anything out to the board, so my apologies for that. We'll make sure next year
Yeah,
that everyone's aware of that.
yeah, cause
Yeah.
usually I try to attend that.
Also on June 29th, I attended a CERT exercise at the Fox Theater in downtown Redwood City. Really great, large group. It was basically our 2 CERT communities coming together from Redwood City and Menlo Park. Well attended with probably about 40 CERT members, and they had scenarios all day long. National Night Out, as I had mentioned, was just on Tuesday, August 5th. I attended 3 different events, but we had our engines out, rotating around to all the different events. Atherton's, I saw Director Bloom there, big event. Theirs is just a single event for the entire city, and then really nice way to connect with our community. I know it's really a law enforcement centric thing, but it's nice for our first responders to be out there too. The PG&E exercise I mentioned in Heather's report, that was, again, an all-day event with a huge number of resources from both PG&E and San Mateo County Fire Resources out there. I don't know how much PG&E spent on setting up for that event, but it was quite a bit. Really nice way to connect with them and highlight also the training center. Connex box tour. If you're wondering what that is I think Gage chatted a little bit about it at the last meeting. So our plan is, right now, the first pilot Connex box is being constructed, and it's gonna be delivered out here in the back of Station 1. And Gage and whoever he can convince to help him is gonna start building it out. And the plan is, depending on how built out it is, we're gonna figure out a way to go out and take a little tour of it during one of our meetings. So you guys can see actually the cool stuff that's gonna be happening and available for our volunteer groups out there. So you can ask questions, poke around, come up with brilliant ideas, because, you know, my guess is the second one won't look exactly like the first one, but the first one's gonna be great. So that will be a plan at some point in time in the future when Gage gives me a thumbs up.
Will those be on wheels, on trailers?
No, they're gonna be, those are
Stationary.
usually, the Connex boxes are, have you ever seen a trash company haul a dumpster out kind of on a
They're like
flatbed?
shipping
that?
container things.
Yeah, right, so we'll have to get a flatbed, a tilt flatbed that can pull it up and then take it out, and we'll put it down, so it won't be movable. Yeah, we can move it with the appropriate truck, but that's. I also wanted to chat just a little bit about the tsunami warning back on July 29th. You know, we became aware of that pretty quickly. I think I shared with you all via text what was going on, just to make sure, in case you were watching the news or had heard anything about it, that we were on top of it as much as we could with a tsunami warning. You know, and especially as I'm sure most of you are signed up for SMC Alert, you saw that San Mateo County DEM actually was proactive and sent out the alert. And I think we've had a number of conversations with them since that, you know, I think that was a good start. There's still lots of gaps to fill out in the plan, like what, from my perspective, and we made everybody operationally aware around here, but there wasn't a lot of information flowing from the county about what our trigger points would be, or what kind of actions we should take. Depending on the tsunami hitting, I would imagine like the northern Oregon coast or something that would give us some advanced warning. So, I ended up watching the islands of Hawaii to get some kind of indication as to whether or not that was gonna impact them. Fortunately, it didn't, so that gave me pretty good reassurances that we weren't gonna have any impacts here, but I think there's still challenges in our alerting system that highlighted. Because if there were impacts, I'm not sure. If there were gonna be impacts and we were aware of them, I'm not sure how the alerting would have gone or what it would have looked like along the shoreline. That's where our impacts would have been. As far as evacuations going, so, yes.
Can I just comment on that? I mean, tsunami warnings from a messaging perspective are generally difficult because they have to put out the warning before they have the data from the local buoys.
Yeah.
So the weather buoys, the deep water buoys out there, by the time they see the data on the deep water buoys that they maintain, that they monitor, it's too late to do any notification.
Right.
You run out of time. So tsunamis create a unique challenge that they generally have to put out the notice when the event occurs, which is what we saw from NOAA, from the National Oceanic Association agency. They put out the notice based on the event, which was the earthquake. But until the deep water buoys start seeing the swell, there's no way to know. But by the time they see the swell, Hawaii's already in trouble.
Right.
And then subsequently, we're in trouble. And then secondarily, they've now had enough history over the last couple of tsunamis from the Japan earthquake to know that Santa Cruz Harbor is a hot spot of damage, and Crescent City is historically impacted by tsunamis. So more and more they're falling into what's the historical pattern. But it's one of those unique things where the data that they need to really decide evacuation and everything, it comes too late to get it done. So somebody has to make a human judgment call early on that says, we think it's gonna be bad enough, we're gonna jump the gun and evacuate everybody. And that's what Hawaii did,
That's
they
what Hawaii
evacuated
did,
everybody.
Right.
And then, but they have no way to know until very close to the time whether it's actually going to evacuate or not. So it's a unique challenge. I would just, the reason for bringing it up is I would just be careful about, kind of judging progress or not progress on how messaging is going based on tsunami. Because it's a little different than fires and other things where you have a rate of spread, you know the direction the wind's blowing, you know where it's going. These are weird situations with limited data.
Chip?
Yeah, I have a comment also, and that is, what you said, I just want to emphasize. I don't think there was any information whatsoever about what to do about anything. And so what we're doing, we've now been, I think, pretty successful at getting lots of people to receive these alerts. They signed up for SMC alerts and so forth. But there's no follow-up. I had a couple calls from people said, what should I do? And I just said, nothing. It's a waste of time. You shouldn't have gotten the alert. Tsunamis don't come up the bay. There's just nothing for anybody to do. And it'd be great if there was some way to localize these things so that we could tell people what to do or what not to do, or just to relax. But to make everybody, not everybody, lots of people afraid and then provide nothing just makes them kind of immune to alerts in the future. And I think it's a mistake.
And that's always one of the challenges is, that's what happened with the Montecito mud and debris flow was evacuation fatigue. People didn't listen.
Yeah.
Right after being evacuated from the fires, and then suddenly the alerts went out for flooding, and people are like, I'm
Yeah,
fine.
right.
And then it swept their homes. So yeah, it is one of the risks. Also too, is just the recognition that SMC alert, it's about 10% of our population. And so 90% don't get any message. So that really the only effective way to catch those is from WIA, the wireless emergency alert. That's like an Amber Alert on your cell phone. But again, if you're Bloom saying it's really challenging with the tsunami to figure out because you can't see it. Right, you just,
I mean,
I
and
think
the
if
predictions.
Hawaii had really been inundated, it would have given us an indication something, sure, but, other
Sure,
than that.
3 hours of early notice.
Yeah, Hawaii doesn't have anyone to look at, so, yeah, and I was, trying to look along the coast, trying to figure out where it might hit before us, so we had some warning, but I felt pretty comfortable after watching Hawaii not
The,
have
the
any.
Bay models do show potential tsunami impact of a tsunami in the San Francisco Bay.
Right.
That would mimic essentially being higher than the traditional king tides potentially. So king tide being 6'7" to 7 feet. They say the bay could see a 7.5 type tide coming through the bay, which in our low-lying parts of it with old infrastructure and old levee systems could actually be problematic. But it'd have to be probably a major earthquake closer to California than, across the entire ocean. But something more localized, a major earthquake 30 miles offshore, could easily cause an impact in the San Francisco Bay. And it's happened in the past up in the San Rafael, Belvedere, Sausalito areas been impacted in the past by tsunamis.
So one of the things, Chief, before we move on from that, taking off of what Gary just got to saying, talking about, I think that the substance of that particular tsunami warning, I know you give us a little brief, but I think it sounds like it's one of those areas within the subset, within the areas that we have looked at for study session to kind of maybe put this as a subset to I think emergency preparedness, to kind of dig a little deeper into that because it's all about warning, it's all about notification, and within our area we have Menlo Park, East Palo Alto, and maybe Atherton really could probably be impacted by if that 7 foot, 8 foot surge come through those particular cities. Kind of, I'm just saying, tacking that on to maybe a subset to that conversation. If the board think it's worthy. Okay, that's all I had. Anybody have any other questions for Chief? Are you finished? So good.
Oh, I have a question, but I can wait. I mean, I just have a question for,
Okay, let me go through this report and I'll
Yeah.
have questions if that works.
perfect, yeah.
Just I forgot to add my city council meetings I've attended, but since we last met. Last Tuesday night, I attended the Menlo Park City Council meeting. And then on June 18th, the Atherton Town Council meeting, Director Bloom was remote from, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, you were there.
I don't know, somewhere, I forget where it was.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
we're there. And then just outstanding staff reports. Still, I just wanted to share, because I think it was internal controls policy did not end up on your survey on purpose, even though it was brought up, and that is because we have a note here. Elaine has hired a consultant, and I think is actually meeting with a consultant this week, just about that. So it's really one of those things that's going to be resolved as we report out via this consultant on internal control. So it just didn't seem, if the board determines they want to have a special study session after that, we can certainly have one, but it felt like it was being addressed. And that will
Do
be
you
one.
mean we're gonna get a written report?
Sure.
Okay.
Then, yeah, the outstanding ones also are electrification of fire service vehicles and the Palo Alto Airport expansion, both of which were included on the survey. And then just incident wise, we had 4 incidents since the last meeting. One was a structure fire. This was a pretty significant one at Menlo College in one of the dorm rooms where I don't remember if somebody was cooking or had a lit cigarette or something like that. It's interesting, we found out that a good number of those dorm rooms are occupied by non-students now. They're renting them out to people who graduated. And so, yeah,
Wow.
and we're like, oh, And so I think that was the case here. It wasn't an actual student, but it was a graduate who was living in there.
Interesting.
Anyway,
So,
it was a room and contents fire, but we cut a hole in the roof and had to evacuate quite a few people, and I think they had to rehouse them there, so. Yeah, it was a reasonably, significant fire, though we contained it to just that one apartment.
There were a lot of sirens for that one.
Yeah, we had a lot of resources there. The multi-vehicle accident, I put it on here, the northbound 101 on August 10th, that was a fatality accident. That occurred, structure fire, on the 900 blocks of Gates in East Palo Alto. I think it was a garage fire, and then we had a grass fire on Beach Street. That is it for the chief's report. I know there is at least one question.
yes, Virginia.
So, Chief, so the pancake breakfast is on October 25th this year? That's pretty late.
Yeah, there was, I don't remember what the timing was as to why it got pushed off, but I know there were some logistics issues related to that. They're trying for the beginning of October.
Yeah, so is the Halloween, event at Station 4 gonna happen like a week later?
I don't know when it normally happens. Does it happen on
On
Halloween? Oh, it'll still happen, yeah.
So, okay.
I know they're
do we-
gearing up for it already.
Oh, they are, okay, because
Yeah.
Halloween's actually gonna be on a Friday night this
Yeah.
year, so it's probably gonna be more crowded than usual.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any, Chief, I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding those two items, on your outstanding staff report, I think those two items, the one, the electric fire service vehicle, and, because we have that as part of the study session, and also the airport, shifting the conversation to those two items too, since we have it on our agenda, and to see exactly if there's a report or anything like that would emerge from that to see whether it should really come back on the agenda at that point in time.
So, you
That's
know,
the
I don't
thought.
know, it's gonna be interesting. I think we should see after we have our first study session about what the appetite is to go through all of these things on the list, or whether we want to add more, regardless of whether we address those two items in a study session. We will, if we don't address them there, we will come back and I will have a board report on it.
Okay,
So one way or another, whether it's in a study session or via board report, those items will be
to have a
discussed.
report, okay.
Right, because the board has voted to include them.
Chuck?
I just wanted to add something in terms of the report we get. I'd love to find out kind of the end of the story regarding the electric vehicle we were contemplating purchasing.
Sure.
I wondered if the manufacturer ever built it, were any ever delivered? So I just was curious on the outcome. of
Yes,
that.
for sure, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to no other question for the chief. We'll move on to the consent item. There's two items that, on the consent, calendar. One's for the minutes of July 15th, and the other one has to do with the treasury report for June 30th, 2025.
I'll move to approve the consent calendars.
Motion been made to approve the consent calendar. Get a second.
I'll second it.
Been moved in second. Call for the questions. No questions, then call for the vote.
Director Bernstein?
Aye.
Director Bloom?
Aye.
Director Ferrari?
Aye.
Director Solano is absent. Director Jones?
Aye. Ayes have it. We'll move on to a regular agenda item. We have three items on the agenda. Agenda item number 4, which has to do with adopting a resolution awarding this contract to Telecommunication Engineering Associates. Chief, Francine?
It's gonna be, I'm gonna have 4, 5, and 6, and is John Hitchcock on there just in case? Okay.
Yeah.
If we have highly technical questions, we can go to John.
Okay.
But I will cover this. So just to share with you, as we're doing agenda prep initially, and still, our August agenda was pretty light, so these were initially on consent. Yeah, they were, just to share, these were in the approved budget and approved by finance committee. And then as we were sitting down to set the agenda for the meeting, I had moved these over to regular agenda and I was chatting about moving them to consent or leaving them there. And Director Jones actually said it would be helpful for us to hear a little bit about what we're doing, you know, and with some of this technology and sometimes, and I think I had some of that feedback during my performance reviews too. It's nice to share with the board some of the things that are going on. The first one that we have before you right now is related to our TEA contract. This is our station alerting. And when I say station alerting, it's basically, you know, when the tones come from public safety communications and open up our radios in the station. Station alerting is the system that announces the call, turns on the light, rings a bell, or has some kind of tone that will wake up the firefighters. Sometimes it's different based on time of night, so that's what the system is that we currently have installed. It's an older system, so this is really just kind of an upgrade and maintenance for that system. We're upgrading all 7 of our stations to the tune of about $22,000 per station. This is an ongoing contract and relationship that we've had with TEA for a long time. And that's really what's happening with this. Like I had said, it was an item we included in the CIP budget for this year. And we are asking for the board, we're coming back to the board because now we actually need approval since it exceeds my purchasing authority to approve that amount in the amount of $153,000. So with that, I will open it to any questions.
Just worth noting, this was reviewed and discussed at facilities meeting as well.
That's what I meant to say, not finance, because finance didn't.
We
meet this
didn't get
one.
it, yeah.
But yes, it was approved. And the next one also.
Next
is
one is-
facilities.
yeah.
It was one of those committees that started with. Yes, sir.
So,
I was a little confused by this. I want, under the page, well, this is the first page, 1 of 2 here, under discussion. It says, well, some of the equipment could be purchased by the district. I guess I'm not clear. Did we lease this from TEA or? I can't figure out if we're purchasing it or not purchasing it.
Oh, go ahead, Nancy.
So that's for the new equipment, and so I think the recommendation is that we have TEA purchase it, because then they will be responsible for the warranty and making sure that everything works fine with it. We could go out and purchase the new equipment that we're asking for, we could purchase it through TEA.
And if they purchase it, do we own it or do they own it?
We own.
So we are purchasing just indirectly or something like that, like,
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yeah, they're just selling us the equipment.
well, okay,
They're
so,
building it into the quote, how much the equipment costs, but they're doing the purchase versus us going out and purchasing and them installing.
and do you know offhand how much it's costing us to have them purchase it?
I mean, or is there a price differential?
We'll let
it built
John
into the
fill
21,000.
in the blanks there.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
get
they-
questions on that?
Yeah, they don't typically mark up their costs on the equipment. Where they're making their money is on the labor side. So as Francine mentioned, if we purchase it directly, it's pretty much going to cost almost identical to what they're charging us. But because they have to configure the equipment, it's preferred that TEA purchases that equipment because then they get it delivered straight to them. They can configure it versus us purchasing, giving it to them giving it back, and then us having to worry about the warranty issues if there's any problems when they're trying to configure it.
I see, so that, you're saying that they're not really marking up the equipment, their markup is on the labor to maintain it.
Configuration.
That is correct.
Okay, it wasn't all clear, and then, I was curious about the old equipment. Do we get any, is there a trade-in on that? Do we get any credit for that?
The equipment is obsolete, so it doesn't have a resale value. So for example, we have existing firewalls that are no longer serviceable. So we're gonna get a new firewall that can continue to be updated with like Microsoft updates. The old equipment basically doesn't have any resale value. So no, we would not.
And what are we doing with the old equipment?
It would end up being surplus.
And what do we do then? Are we gonna sell it? Are we gonna throw it in the garbage? I'm just curious what happens to it.
Typically TA will take it away and they'll dispose of it. So yeah, they'll end up throwing it, they'll recycle it.
Okay, and I mean, we have something, we have a policy about what we do with obsolete equipment, it seems, and there's no mention at all of what we're doing with it here.
Understood.
I'm not suggesting anything nefarious here, I'm just saying that we seem to be avoiding our normal policy of, you know, offering it for sale or doing something to see if there's any value in it.
Yeah, and I know it's not delineated in here, but in essence, we'll follow that intent of the surplus policy. Usually if the vendor deems it worthless and they're not willing, if anyone was gonna buy it, it would be them, but if they're like, it's old and worthless, we'll just deem that it has no value and have them either dispose of it or we will by throwing it away. But yeah, we're not gonna put it up for sale if a vendor tells us that it has no value and it's, you know, 10-year-old technology.
Yeah, no, and I suspect it does have no value, but it
Yeah.
seems to me, I mean, that the
We can
TEA
make sure it's-
has a conflict of interest here. It's easy to say, oh, it has no value, give it to us.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And I just think that we should be more circumspect than that.
Got
You don't need to report to me or us, but I think we ought to follow what our procedures are to make sure that it truly has no value. And then I had, I believe, one more question on this. Oh, no, actually, it's the next one. That's all I had.
So can I get a motion to approve this particular item number 5?
So moved, I'll move to authorize the fire chief to contract with TEA for the purchase and installation of emergency alerting equipment in the amount of $153,159.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
The motion been made and seconded, any call for the question, not roll call?
Director Bernstein?
Aye.
Director Bloom?
Aye.
Director Crawley?
Aye.
Director Sloan is absent, and Director Jones.
Aye, motion carried. Moving on to item number 5, which is to adopt a resolution approving a purchase from AM Signal LLC for traffic preemption equipment in the amount of $293,732. Got any questions, Chief?
Yes, this one is a little bit more interesting to talk about. First of all, I will say it's an item that's in our budget and was approved at the. Did we take this to the facilities committee meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Thoroughly
I wanted to make sure, because I'm like,
discussed.
it's not our facility we're making the improvement to, but. Anyway, traffic preemption devices, we've been using them since 2014. This is what allows us to basically turns, the traffic signals to green in our favor. And originally, the devices or the signals that we installed these on, we would have, in essence, a kind of a strobe on the front of the engine that would activate it. Now with technology being what it is, and these units that we're proposing to install are all activated via GPS, meaning the system actually knows what route we're taking, anticipates which direction the engine is coming from, and turns the signal green and clears the intersection long before we get there. The values are basically twofold. First of all, it's related to our response time, right? This is a great way to leverage technology to actually help improve our response time. by clearing traffic, and we all know we have pretty significant traffic issues there. Second benefit is the safety to the public around us. So many accidents occur as a result of what's called a lake effect. And that is what happens when we come down with sirens blaring and horns honking and lights on. People do crazy things when, into other cars, whatever, so. If we can avoid that by clearing the traffic or the intersections before we get there. I mean, multiple things, we get to the scene quicker, community's safer, no one's bumping into another vehicle, so. What we have here is, we are proposing, I believe, to increase it. And have this device available at 38 additional intersections along our primary response routes. Right now, this is just something that we use, it's not utilized by law enforcement. If law enforcement ever had a desire to, be able to connect to it or use it in the future, we could have conversations with them about some form of cost sharing for it. But it's interesting, in most jurisdictions, the police aren't using it, I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe their response times, it's interesting, sometimes I find with law enforcement, they don't usually measure response times like we do, because they're just, if it's a big deal, they're all going all at once, and if it's, some kind of petty theft or something, they'll be there in 2 hours. So it's very different than our model. But this is gonna help us upgrade our system and help us deal with the ever increasing traffic in our district. And hopefully improve the service that we give to our public by getting there a little bit more quickly and a little bit more today. With that, I can answer questions.
Any questions for the chief?
Yeah.
Chuck?
I was just trying to understand, I'm looking at the background section on the first page here. And what you said actually even compounds this a little bit. I'm not trying to tally the accounting of these things, but I just trying to understand what it says. So we originally had 14 of these, then we got 15 more, and then we got 11 more. Am I understanding that correctly? And that's a total of about 40. And then we're gonna get an additional 38.
And I'll just double check, John, are the 38 that we're proposing all additional units, or some of them replacing the old units?
They're all new intersections.
Okay, got it.
So
Okay, so then we're gonna have a total of, if the math is right, of 78
Right.
intersections.
And some of it is old technology, we still have the strobes on the engines, and then we also, some of them are still the old school strobe activated intersections, so we haven't upgraded all of those. And some of them will be newer, so all of the units, all of our first response units will have both.
That's what I didn't quite understand. I was
Yeah.
wondering if the controllers were interchangeable and so forth. They're not. We need two different controllers,
The
basically.
driver of the crew doesn't do anything different to trigger them, they're
No.
just driving.
Yeah.
The triggering is automatic.
It's this,
I see.
so that's the new technology versus the strobe light.
And I'm just curious, what's our plan for the future? Are we gonna phase out the old ones? Are we gonna just operate with those, or where are we going with all this?
And again, this is just kind of off the cuff, I would certainly be interested in moving forward to upgrading the technology. On the older ones that have the strobes, just because it's better. Yeah, the idea that you don't need to be within line of sight of an intersection to have it open up and clear. And have it do it in advance just makes more sense, so. We will look at what the cost is of changing those out and potentially come forward with a proposal at some point in time.
I think the subtlety of the difference that you explained in facilities is that with the GPS units, it's tied into the mapping direction of where the engine's going. So it knows 2 blocks away, it's coming up to an intersection, and it can start changing the intersection long before, where the strobe requires line of sight, it doesn't change the intersection until you're there at the intersection.
So by that time, some of the people in the intersection have frozen because they don't know whether to move to the left or right, so. Yeah, if the light can turn green before they hear us even coming.
And then on the second page, at the top of the page, you mentioned that you want to complete this by the end of the current fiscal year. Is there some reason for that, or that you just are saying it's gonna happen fairly soon?
Yeah, it could happen sooner, but that's our goal, is to complete it within, I mean, fiscal year just started, right? So,
Okay, and do we have to install parts of those things, or it's all done for us?
it's all done through vendors, contractors.
And
Okay,
you did mention facilities, part of the timing was encroachment permits and other permitting that's necessary to do some of the installations in different jurisdictions.
and then I wanna look sort of right after again, the pages aren't numbered here, but right in attachment C. The resolution talks about buying this from AM Signal. But suddenly there's Neovision here. Is AM Signal the same as Neovision?
I'm gonna leave that one to John Hitchcock, if you have, John, otherwise I'll.
Sure. So in the attachment, third paragraph, Microvision, who is the manufacturer of the equipment, AM Signal is the reseller. And so AM Signal is the only authorized distributor of the product in our region.
So let me just ask it another way. Opticom is a product of Neovision?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I was just confused who we're buying this from and whether the resolution was correct. That was all I had. Thank you.
Any other question? I have two questions for you.
Sure.
So is it my understanding that all the engines that we have in service have this particular
Engines in our battalion chief vehicles have the devices that.
capability?
Change it, yes.
So, are there other routes that might be, considered, or do you think might need, to come into play I know it's something needs to be on the pole, the signal light or whatever. Are there other areas within our district that you're looking at to make?
Right, are there
service?
other controlled intersections where we don't have them that
Right.
we're considering?
Right.
Not right now, these were prioritized by Chief Johnston in operations in the past, and so they picked out, the main travel corridors, so. I don't think there are others right now, there could be, as time comes, but we don't have a specific plan to add additional ones beyond this
So
right now.
is my assumption is that every city would have somewhere some of these controls kind of set up. Because I know in the report it mentions some new sites like Sand Hill and I think Elkmead.
Willow Road, yeah.
Willow Road has some sites, so I'm wondering if there's any study, have you thought about any studies to really kind of hone in on the appropriateness of additional system? And if not, then it seemed like it would be at some point to maybe have that study, to make that determination throughout the district, and then request, coming in with a request to get more installed if necessary.
I'm gonna circle back with staff and have a conversation.
Robert?
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Go ahead. Go for it.
I'm sorry, Chief, I did have one more question here. I jumped a page. It says that in the budget, there's $400,000 approved. And this is a bid, appears to be a bid for just the equipment side of it at $293,000. And then it says, if the installation is within the budget, then you're gonna go ahead.
is this saying then that the installation budget, I mean, we have, the installation has to be 107,000 or less? That's correct? Okay, and why is it that we don't know what the installation cost is?
Because the bids were due, I think John can say September 3rd, so it's still open. So we don't have all of them yet. But we had this conversation also in the facilities committee, that we will hold on purchasing until we get the bids. We didn't wanna put it out a whole nother month, wait till September, but if the bids come back, that it's actually more than our combined budget, then we will come back to the board, so you can make a decision before we even purchase. If it's within, then we would purchase.
And what if some of these other bids come in less than that?
We pay less.
So, but we can't, but AM Signal is the only authorized distributor, you said, so do we just buy other equipment if?
Yeah.
So I can clarify that from the facilities meeting, so we're buying the equipment, the facilities committee had a whole discussion about, we shouldn't be buying equipment if the installations go below the budget, and therefore there's no authorization assumed to install it, because then we'd have equipment with no corresponding installation. So staff clarified for the facilities committee, Francine just clarified it again, that says they won't actually issue the purchase of the equipment unless the installation comes in below the total budgeted amount, the $400,000. The equipment would still, they're going to choose an installer, but the installers, they're getting multiple bids for installers. The memo that comes from Macrovision or Microvision, I forget the name of it, they have an assigned reseller that's an exclusive reseller of equipment in our area. So to buy their equipment, we have to go through the AM Signal to buy it. They're the exclusive reseller in our area. We're buying equipment from them, but we can get bids from multiple different players to install it. And the installation bids are a competitive process.
Okay, but why wouldn't the equipment be a competitive process?
It's sole source. Opticom is the only provider of the equipment. There's no other vendor or manufacturer out there that provides that equipment that will function. and
Meaning
operate
there's
the-
no other equipment that preempts?
There are other preemption devices out there, but you would have to, every jurisdiction that I'm familiar with uses one or the other. You don't use a combination of both because you have to have all of the hardware and software on there to try and control multiple devices then.
But I thought we were running two systems in parallel.
But they're both Opticom, right?
But-
So,
Why do they have to be Opticom?
Cause
Don't
one's
work
over
together.
one new.
But they don't work together.
I get what you're saying. My experience also is with the other system that's available out there is, I'm just gonna say not as good.
Yeah, but we can't, I think that's violating our purchasing policy. I'm not arguing the point, I have no expertise, but I don't think we can purchase. I mean, we have to say when it's not as good, that there's some criterion, one or more, that we're looking for. And if other equipment can meet that criteria, then we need to buy it from them.
Well, and I get that, but currently we have both the strobe and the GPS directional controllers in our engines that control just Opticom. So to purchase a whole separate product means installing a whole separate system in all of our engines and squad and BC rigs to control a new device that's in there. It just, it's not efficient or cost effective for us to try and do that.
This is kind of like
May not be
the
competitive.
debate about the SCBA's, which brand of SCBA do you wanna buy? And once you commit to one, you kind of have to commit to it because you have all the spare parts, the maintenance programs, everything else. This is very similar. The controller is already built into our engines and our battalion chief's vehicles that triggers an Opticom system. If we were to go out and buy a different brand, we would have to add a second controller in all of the engines. And it would be cost prohibitive to upgrade all the engines with new controllers. This allows us to continue to use the existing controllers. We already have the GPS units in other intersections. And we don't have to upgrade our engines at all. We're simply upgrading equipment at the controlled intersection.
So let me make sure, again, I'm sorry, but,
That's fine.
the controller, the controller, there's only one controller on an engine or truck. But it triggers the traffic signal either by an optical signal or a GPS signal, but it's the same controller.
I think they're separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, you're going above my pay grade on the technology.
So
Yeah.
think of it as a transmitter that's in the engine, like your remote control for your garage, it's a transmitter. The transmitter is already installed in all of our engines and all of our equipment because we already have Opticom GPS units in use.
So if we
We're
have,
adding to it. If we had no Opticom GPS units in use and we had to add an Opticom transmitter to, or a GPS transmitter to it, then you're probably on the right trend and say, well, we should go out and look at everything. But in this case, it'd be cost prohibitive and crazy for us to go upgrade all of the engines and add a third controller.
I mean, basically, we're enhancing the current system.
We're adding to
Or
an
add-
existing,
yeah,
to a
To
system
an
that we
existing,
just,
yeah,
somewhere before I was on the board, because I've never had this discussion since I've been on the board, through the budgeting process and otherwise, agreed to buy Opticom units and install the Opticom transmitters in the engines. Those are already in the engines for
Right.
GPS units.
yes.
So we're making no upgrade there. All we're doing is running the wiring and the switching with the GPS receiver at the different intersections that we want to add.
Yes, the system's already in place.
We're
So-
expanding an existing system.
we don't have to, okay, so we're able to use the same controller with a different the same
Transmitter
transmitter,
with,
different controller.
no, well, we already have GPS controllers. We have both. We have the strobes and we have GPS today. We are adding on the GPS side of the house.
Correct,
I think
based
that-
on the new
I
technology.
think the biggest difference is that each company is gonna have have their own signal.
Yeah.
And so if you go to a Costco and get one, and you go to Sears, get another one, they may not, you may point to Costco at Sears, but it may not even open, it may not work. So I think that's why staying with the one manufacturer, it makes sense, because
But that's the
it's gonna
system we have.
enhance, you don't
That's
have
the
to pay
system
extra
we
cost.
have.
Can I,
It's
John,
it's like the SCBA's. If we were buying 50 more CBAs, we wouldn't switch brands. We
Right,
would have to have a whole
new system,
program put in place to
Right.
manage and maintain 50 SCBA's versus using existing processes and systems.
can I just ask John, John, is that your understanding that we don't have to duplicate systems in our existing equipment, that we're able to use the old systems for some of the new equipment?
So the transmitters that we currently have installed in the fire engines and other vehicles can be used with the equipment that we are proposing to purchase from AM Signal in this report.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Right. Any other questions?
no, but I'll make a motion
Okay,
to approve a purchase from AM Signal for traffic preemption equipment in the amount of $293,732.
motion been made, is there a second? Second. By Gary. Call for the questions, if not, all in favor? Oh,
Michelle?
Michelle,
Director
Thank you.
Bernstein? Director Bloom?
Aye.
Director Crowley?
Aye.
Director Salone is absent, and Director Jones.
aye. Motion is carried, moving on to item number 7, which is, sorry, number 6, Chief? Yes,
Me again, this one. This one, in front of you, actually, you have. This is the public facing version of our strategic plan. I remember at a board meeting, we rolled this out, right, which is hard to digest, has a lot of information. This will be available on our website, but this is what we really want our members of our department and the public to be able to pick up. It is, has all the same priorities in it, the same things that the board approved. It's just, presented in a way that's much more easy for members of the public to understand and for people that don't want to read a 120-page document, get look through it and see what the department values moving forward and what direction we're heading. So when the board adopted the strategic plan back in January of 2025, we had a number of conversations with the board, which is the primary purpose why we're talking about this today. This was an item that was potentially going to be on, at one of our study sessions, and since the meeting was kind of light, and I had already told the board that I would come back to them and talk to them about helping establish priorities. This felt like it was a good time for us to have that conversation with the board. So also, the one thing in here as you're looking at the initiatives, if you happen to look on page 13 is the first with initiative 1. These don't have the specific fiscal year timelines that we had talked about in the bigger document, but it does list them A through F on this one in particular. Those correspond with what we had in the strategic plan as to the fiscal year when we believed we were going to complete that or work on it. Like I had said before, none of this is set in stone, but what I wanted to do was chat with you about what we have currently planned, where we're headed, and get some feedback from the board on whether there's some kind of consensus with that. So on page 2 of the document, you can see the initiatives, starting with initiative 1. I'm just gonna go through this by the different initiatives. Initiative 1 in service to the community.
Right.
And in there, again, I am also referencing this attachment that has a draft marked on it. Sorry, that says draft. This was actually the plan that was approved. It's just my document. It still had draft on. But in there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 initiatives. In the current fiscal year, initiative E is the one that we're working on. And plan on finishing up in this year, and that's review performance metrics and quality of service. Quality of service the dispatch center is providing and determine if any action is required to improve services for the community. So part of that is likely going to be in one of our near-term study sessions. So that will get done. But what I wanted to share with you also, just on this page in particular, are the things that are going on, even though, like in action item A, it's to review and evaluate response time standards and determine benchmarks and baseline metrics. And I had put on there fiscal year 26-27 to get that resolved. That's happening as we speak and likely going to happen at one of our board retreats, right? Where we're going to talk about developing district-specific response time metrics. Item C in there, assessing plan growth that may affect service delivery capabilities and develop proactive strategies to mitigate new or increasing risks. That is, again, the purpose of sharing this one is just to share with you that we're talking about those things right now. That is what we talked about in the fire chief's report with the new development that's going on. So I guess the purpose of pointing these things out is even though they may not be something that we're specifically targeting to accomplish in the current fiscal year, it's possible it may be accomplished. It may be an ongoing thing, but we're still doing work on it. The next one down, item D, identify and implement strategies to enhance community engagement. Again, that is, we had that targeted for 26-27, which is still fine, but Heather and Amandeep are working on this on a daily basis. So the point of this, and we can go through the others and talk about them, is that I want the board to know and understand that all of the things that are included in here in our initiatives and action items are all important, and a good majority of them are actually currently being worked on. So I'm gonna go to initiative number 2 under leadership. We've got 3 of the items here that are we're gonna target for this year. I would say that the one that we're not, establish a professional development program for non-line staff positions. That's not happening right now. It's not a high priority for us, and I think that's, okay to say some of those things, but the rest of these things are all things that we as a group decided were important and that we could accomplish, with our work plan in the current fiscal year. So the plan is for us to have actions and plans in place for each one of these so that we can actually start working on some solutions for those. And I know we've already done some work on having conversations about item C with the demotivators to promotions. The succession planning challenges we have, that's really what item C addresses. And then, the enhancing internal communications methods are some of the things that we're already doing right now. Coffee with the fire chief, the quarterly Zooms, the JLMCs. We have a new newsletter that Amandeep is producing for internal communications, things like that. Under initiative 3, workforce demographics, review the recent hiring processes and establish the best method for hiring quality firefighters. That's something that Francine and I are going to work on this year, already having a number of conversations behind the scenes, as well as even with, it kind of dovetails into item B, review hiring processes and establish the best methods for hiring quality personnel district-wide. That's an ongoing thing and something we're working on also right now. And I think I had shared it with the board at one of our past meetings about an opportunity that we might have in, as it relates to our San Mateo County, College of San Mateo Firefighter Academy, and some opportunities to direct hire from there, right? So, not that that's necessarily our solution right now, but again, just sharing with them, these are items that are on our strategic plan that they're working on, even though they're timelines not in the fiscal year, current fiscal year. Initiative 4, the organizational culture and professional development. The one item that's actually on our work plan for the current fiscal year is the evaluate the existing processes for recognizing professional excellence and make recommendations for enhancements organization-wide. That one we will be doing. That was something that kind of started in Melanie's shop, our EMS manager. So we're working on it from that side. But the 3 right above that, B, C, and D, are all things that Chief McDonald is working on right now with our mission-driven culture, a leader's intent policies. And then we separately have been have had a committee working on our current performance appraisal process. So even though you see those are in some out years, we're working on those. And then finally, under initiative 5, the operational infrastructure A is the one that's going to be happening this year. Review the options for managing the operations technology function more effectively. And then interesting, D is kind of in the works. I know that's the ERP planning processes. We're already kind of working on that in the Francine shop, right? It's next, when do you think, next year?
this fiscal year, we'll do, the request for proposal to do a planning for an ERP. So, we have budgeted this year and the following year. Selected.
So again, yeah, the purpose of that is just sharing with you, and this is a long process, which is why it's targeted out, you know, to be completed in 3 years, right? Because that's probably about how long it's gonna take. And then the, you know, B and C above are conversations we're already having about the procurement function and some facility supplies functions. So that circles back to kind of the conversation I wanted to have with the board was, I know that was kind of a concern as we were going through the strategic planning process, is that the board wanted to have input and fingerprints on our direction. And so that's really kind of the conversation that I have with you. I've shared with you what's currently in the work plan. Happy to make some additions if you feel like specifically there's something in the strategic plan that you think should be a higher priority, and we can make some adjustments in the workload. So for that,
What question did you?
I have a
questions, conversation, however you want to.
quick question.
Sure.
So, and maybe I missed this when I just stepped up, but are these in priority order under?
Oh,
Can you speak a little louder?
Oh,
So-
sorry, I was just wondering if, as I was reading this, I was wondering if under each of these categories, these,
Right.
subcategories were in priority order. How did you come to put these in order like this?
Right, those were just when we sat in that workshop, if you want to call it that, and we assigned dates to it,
Oh,
that was just done based on work.
chronological?
The way they're listed in that document there, it's not a specific priority.
Okay,
But I will say, and you might have been out for this part, is when you're looking at this,
yeah,
these are, I hate to say priority because that's not the right word, but this is currently how we plan on completing them.
so it's
So
more
those- It's
chronological.
chronological.
Okay.
Right, so
Okay.
it's not saying F is less important than A, it just happens to be, when we sat down in that room, we're trying to figure out what's reasonable for us to work on, so we wanna make sure it's that we haven't pushed something off that is really important for the board. Yeah, I think what we've said with our work plan, with things that we plan on accomplishing in fiscal year 25, 26 are reasonable. But we can also make some adjustments. If there's something that takes a lot of work for us to move up, we can do it. And we can shift one of those items to another fiscal year.
So one of the things I thought about under initiative one, and I don't even know if it's the right place to put this, is I know that our finance team it does great work, Elaine. It really has been such a leader in making sure that we're being fiscally responsible, right? And so I'm just wondering if that's, and I think it goes without saying, but sometimes if it's on paper, it's a reminder, it's not on here yet, but under service to the community or leadership, and can we add something about budgeting and finances, and, you know, being fiscally sound and healthy, or whatever you want to say? I mean, because I want to acknowledge the finance team, because they're such a big part of what keeps the operations going and kind of keeps us in order financially, so that we know what's available to spend and what our budget looks like. And quite frankly, I think it's important to our constituents, because they're actually paying for all of this. And I don't want them to think that it's not a priority when it is a priority for this board. And I know for the staff, and Elaine did such a great job. I don't want that to fall off the radar either, because he's a big part of the operations and leadership or service to the community. I don't know where you would put it, but that's what I would just add. If y'all think it makes sense to.
Sure.
So I think the document that the chief actually presented is just like a full summary, but actually in the bigger document of the strategic plan, there's actually a full section about fiscal sustainability.
Okay.
So if that's the intent, I think, it's like the overarching actually, like goal or like, principle of, the whole strategic plan is the fiscal sustainability of that. So So maybe, I don't know, maybe we can probably add that into.
Or like into the
documentary or-
introduction or
I
something.
know, and I'm trying to find it, I know it acknowledges in the text of this, though it's not an initiative, about our
You mean
financial
this.
stewardship and that
I
we are
haven't-
guided by, in everything that we do, by living within our means, all
Or
other
just
things.
being, fiduciary of the public's money and spending it wisely, right, to further our mission.
That's it right here.
Is that in this book? Because this is the first time I've seen this, so I haven't actually had a chance to look at it.
Oh, yeah, it's the third paragraph on page 11,
Oh,
at least
okay.
talks about that and acknowledges that, well, I'll let you do.
Oh, here, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is the first time
Well,
we've
it's
gotten
fine.
this, so,
It's
but it just
one of those
wasn't in
things-
our packet, so that's why I wanted to acknowledge what our administrative and finance team have been doing, because they're doing an amazing job.
And there, again, we have a lot of initiatives that aren't listed in here that we're doing
Yeah.
I had talked about some strategies that we're trying to work on with workers' comp that isn't in here. And so there's all kinds of things that are happening. There's the new stuff going on with the Quake technology
Oh,
stuff that's
yeah.
coming,
Yeah.
that's not in here. But no, it's
Not gonna be
documents,
ignored,
right.
right?
There are so many
Okay.
things beyond, what, if we listed out all of our accomplishments or what we're doing this
Too
year,
interesting.
it would be giant.
Yeah.
But these are supposed to be really broad, overarching kind of goals and objectives.
Okay, well, thanks. I mean, I think that's kind of sums up at least philosophically what we want and what the board kind of keeps on track, the finances. Thank you. Thanks, Elaine.
Chuck?
Yeah, I want to ask about this page 13 and service to the community, which to me is the primary thing we should be focusing on. And comparing, Chief, to your staff report, what you show is 1E and what is shown as 1E and 1F in the printed thing are the performance metrics for dispatch is E and ambulance is F. However, if I look at your staff report, initiative 1, it says review the performance measures and quality of service the dispatch center is providing. It doesn't mention anything about ambulance. And
In the staff report?
the staff report, page 2, initiative 1, the description there.
Yeah, it's under F, right? Service.
So I can give you some clarity. What's in my staff report are the items that we had scheduled to be completed in the current fiscal year.
But you just said a minute ago that this list was kind of chronological. And if I'm understanding,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
and dispatch and ambulance are at the very bottom of the list.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
disregard, I think I may have been mistaken on that. Now that I'm looking at it. Make sure we do that.
But let me agree with you that I think both of them are important for
Okay.
sooner rather than later.
I would like to recant my earlier testimony and say they appear in the exact order that they appear in the bigger document. And they are not chronologically listed. And they're not listed in order of
Let me be
priority.
clear, this is not chronological.
That's not chronological. The
This
actual
is
plan,
chronological.
my staff report shows you just things that are planned for this current fiscal year.
Well, but that's immediate, so the ones that you're showing are,
Those are the ones we plan on working on this year.
okay. Okay, thank you, I
Sure.
was.
Sorry for the miscommunication.
Okay.
anything else, Chuck?
Well, I think these other things, I think, I don't disagree with dispatch being important, but I think ambulance is important also, and I think 1A, it's the response time standards that's important. I'm pushing for all three of those to be this year, so.
I think that those will all be addressed this year too. just based on the conversation that's gonna come up, in the president's report related to, the special study session items.
Thank you.
Gary? In terms of trying to piggyback a little bit, what I've noticed that in the priorities, and I guess that's from the survey, I noticed that item number A, initiative 1 in the service to the community, item A, item D, E and F are related to the items that we are considering in our study session that come on as service to the community. So I think at the study session, we'll be able to kind of probe a little deeper, I think, as a board, because there was some of the things that the board members wanted to talk about. And then I think after our conversation and looking at the source of information for each of those items, I think as a board, we might be able to come up with what will be a priority for the board for the upcoming year to kind of really probe. It's already listed as initiative action items for the district. We just gotta understand for ourselves what would take a priority for the board. So that's how I look at, and these are the only items that I noticed that within the 5 initiatives that were listed that falls on the work plan that we talked about as a board. So are there any other questions for the chief? If not, then we want to say thank you, Chief, for
Yes, yes, good.
organizing this.
I will say, and I think, and I don't wanna steal Director Jones's thunder, but one of the survey topics was EMS, what can we do, what can we, the fire district, do differently to improve EMS service? That certainly probably encompasses a couple of the items in there. And also, once we talk about the topics that we're gonna have at our special study session, I'm very interested in the board expanding on, it's a very narrowly defined topic, so interested in hearing what the board would like to know and talk about it. That's something to prepare for. So that can be the ambulance services, it can be dispatch, it can be EMS, things we can do personally as a district, all kinds of things. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. No more questions for the chief. We'll move on to, we don't have to improve anything, so we'll move on to item number 7. Or do we have a 7?
Yeah, the proposed agenda item.
Proposed agenda item. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I had my notes and I'm trying to wing it here. What I would like to maybe just throw out to the board, I propose that there are 2 items, I think, currently on anyway, I can't find it. I don't want to talk me crazy. Anybody have any comments on number 7? Oh, until items on number 7.
Well, Chuck has that item. Are you saying that that's gonna be part of the study session?
Which one?
Item 7, where Director Bernstein has discussed response time is reported in the fire response analysis monthly report. Is that gonna be
Thank you.
in the study session?
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to.
You're reading my mind.
Okay, great.
So my thought was that that item is one of the items that's listed in our questions that went out to ask survey to see if get a response from the board. So we will be talking about that, or it is in terms of whenever we get to it. I don't know what priorities come up in, but I think it will be talked about at that point in time.
Robert, I was gonna propose that maybe you move your president's report up to right now,
Right.
so that we don't waste our time talking about stuff that,
It's gonna be in the study session.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I want to make sure we get to the end because I don't want to be long-winded like I can be. So I will postpone any other further conversation around those items until we get to the president reports.
Which other
I,
item?
I see no problem voting on and putting 7 as a future agenda item and make it covered through the study session. But either way, it's a topic we've
gonna-
all discussed that we need to discuss. It's stated here. So I personally have no problem approving it. The determination of when and what format it's going to get addressed is left to the discretion of the president and chief. So this is just a matter of adding it, the board has agreed to have it as a future agenda item. I would move that we have this as a future agenda item.
Motion been made, is there a second?
I'll second.
And second, call for the question, or none, roll call?
Director Bernstein?
Aye.
Director Bloom?
Aye.
Director Crowley?
Aye.
Director Solana is absent, Director Jones?
Aye. So this item will be placed on the agenda as, in a future board meeting. And we'll probably have a better sense of it once we have a study session. Item number,
Study session better be really good given all the lead up and.
oh, it will be. If I have to cook my
We better have a
homemade
really
chili.
solid plan
You
because
want your homemade chili.
If I have to-
world hunger is being solved after these study sessions.
Absolutely, that's why we're gonna build up that appetite. Moving on to item number 8, any new proposed agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move on to reports. Committee reports, emergency preparedness,
Not on that
who's on that one?
You and God.
Oh, no report, we didn't have a meeting, so no report. Facilities,
one. The facilities, we met to discuss the 2 items that the board has already fully approved, so I won't belabor that.
okay. Human resource,
No meeting.
finance,
Finance is not meeting.
okay. Move on to item number 10, liaison reports. Town of Atherton,
I have. Actually, the only thing I have to report is just the night out that the chief mentioned, really good turnout in Atherton for that. And I know that people enjoyed having our engine companies out there. The kids climbing all over engines is always a highlight of those events. Town of Atherton does not have a meeting this month, so I'll have nothing to report.
Did
next
you
month.
wanna bring up Diana?
I could bring up Diana's. She's been a liaison to the fire district or for the fire district board. I think you all got the same email I got that she's resigning from Atherton Town Council effective their September meeting. And the mayor, Elizabeth Lewis, will take on the liaison role at least on an interim basis. She's already been coming to some of our meetings anyhow. And I've been in conversations with her in the past about fire district issues, so I don't think there's any change to what's going on, but you all got the same email I got.
is there anything that the board, you think be appropriate for the board to kind of recognize and honor her service?
I think it is, because she's been so committed to their ADAPT program, emergency prep, making sure that the fire district always has Atherton in it. And I think it would be a very nice gesture to recognize her service on the council.
So I tend to agree, I think it's good practice, she's been a liaison to it, she's been a big supporter of the prep world in general, and I think, made it clear in her letter, one of the reasons she ran was to try to help mitigate the concern in Atherton of splitting off from the fire district. So as a supporter, but if the board would like to instruct staff to prepare a quick resolution, either the chief or myself can present that at the September meeting at their council meeting.
Yes, done.
Okay, done. Okay, any objections to that? I don't hear any, so yes, it's done.
Okay, thank you for raising that. I don't think about those things too much.
Diane, she's she's a good person, so I think she's done a lot of work too while she's there. Menlo Park, East Palo Alto. East Palo Alto had their national night out. I was there over on Illinois Street in that corridor. Really active. Quite a few people showed up. got a little chilly when sun went down, cause that wind come off the bay pretty, but it was a good turnout. People looked like they had fun, so. Menlo Park.
I have nothing to report. I was traveling, so I missed National Night Out here, which was kind of sad. But it sounds like everyone had a good time and hope I'll get the next Menlo Park City Council meeting.
County of San Mateo, District 3, that's Rob, he's not here.
And then Gary.
Gary.
I think safe to say the county of San Mateo is completely encompassed with their issues with the sheriff's office.
Okay, County of San Mateo, District 4, that's Rob. Yes, he's not here, so I knew he had a long statement to put together, but he's not here right now. San Mateo County Pre-Hospital Emergency Medical Joint Power Authority, that's Rob, he's not here, so move on to San Francisco Creek.
Yeah, nothing,
power.
not a whole lot to report, but I am meeting with the chair of the Creek JPA, council member Greer Stone of Palo Alto at the end of August, mainly just as an introduction and to just let them know that the fire district cares about the issues that they also care about, and you know, just whatever we can do to support them, or you know, they want to talk to us about safety or the creek, whatever. You know, it's just really an introduction meeting, so I'll report back next month.
So Michelle's packing up, so we better hurry up and get out of here. Yeah, so, report of directors. Any reports from directors? So president report. I don't have much to say, Chief and I, regarding what, and let me start off by saying, each one of you, thank you for responding to the survey that Shin is sent out. So we actually, the question, the instructions was to take the 6 items and as a priority for yourself, how would you rank them? And so what she did was to took everybody's response to the items and then created our list. And we haven't, I don't think you've received that list yet. Just preview myself. Now I'm sharing it with you. The first item on the list was, well, in priority, was the developing and understanding response time metrics. That was number 1. Setting appropriate response time goals for our major incident types include dispatch turnout and travel time, as well as other appropriate metrics.
Is that true?
That's number 1. Number 2, in terms of how the board members voted, was the EMS. What can we, the fire district, do differently to improve EMS service to our community? Have some discussion, discuss the contractual relationship with the county, AMR, and the fire district, and develop some goals to improve our service. This can include enhancing our services or discussing ways to improve response time. The third in priority was emergency preparedness. Board discussion on 3 to 4 areas of focus that we can do differently now to help the community be prepared. This would not be a review of the EPIRB policy, but instead a list of action items for staff. 4th is San Francisco Creek JPA representation and discussion with the San Francisco Creek Joint Powers Authority Director and the JPA role and the impact to the fire district. Number 5, Palo Alto Airport expansion. Discuss impact to the fire district with a focus on land-based response as well as water-based response of district resources inside and outside of the district's jurisdiction. And the last item was electrification of the fire service vehicle. This discussed latest trends and further opportunities for the district to electrify some or all of its vehicles and apparatus. So those were the priorities that came back from your response. And so with the chief and I, with your comments from you, is our thoughts were try to tackle in the first setting, could be the first and only setting for this year, but at least for the first setting, 2, maybe 3 of those items, split them in half. So we have 3 and 3, but if the board want to make it 2 and 2 and 2, then it's 3 sessions to try to get through all of them. Whether we be able to get through them, all of them this year, ideally would be nice, but it may not. I don't think the goal is not to see how fast we run, but how much ground we can cover, and to what depth that we information that we need to kind of understand and prioritize each one of those items on the list. So I'm gonna leave it there, and we're open for questions. So we did talk about location, and we also talked about time frame. Chief mentioned time frame to have this. So are there any
Probably be
Location.
someplace other than here, and
Other
we'll
than
provide
here.
food, we'll find a location that's,
There's 80 Willow Road.
oh, yes.
Remember they had
Yeah.
their little
Sorry.
nonprofit.
So Michelle's gonna reach out and find eventually time for all 5 of the board members. And then also, what would be helpful for me is, the first 2 topics are pretty meaty. It's, like the first is the response time metrics, that it could take us the full amount of time it does. It's permissible for us to just push the next topic off. So we'll come prepared with at least 2 topics and see how far we get. But I would like to say, at least for the first two, which is response times and the EMS thing, if you have specific areas that you're interested in us digging into, it'd be really helpful for you to email me so we can do some staff work in advance. And it could be, like Director Bernstein said, I'm interested in, the ambulance company performance, or, well, how's the contract? Can we transport ourselves? Or whatever questions you might have, so we can answer those and have that discussion, would be great. I don't know if it's as much on the response time metrics. I will come prepared to share with you, just information on the national standards, and then look at our data. Part of it, I think we'll go back to answering Director Bernstein's entire topic that's been put to a future agenda. But anyway, if you have items that you think you'd like me to focus on, please share them separately with email. Not here because it causes problems because we did not check that. So for a conversation or discussion.
And I think part of, to add a little bit to what the chief is talking about, I think it's important to get the subject matter experts here as well. Like whenever we hit a topic area, we got a lot of expertise here at the fire district, but there may be people like Elizabeth from the Joint Powers Authority. JPA might be a good source, understanding where they.
The creek.
For the creek.
Oh, Margaret.
Margaret.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as to get understand where they are, and heading, and kind of just get a kind of backdrop of that. And if there are any of these other areas that you might find that there may be other folks that might bring some insight to the table. So Chief and I are kind of looking at that. What
I have a quick question and a comment. Are you planning to produce like a staff report for each of these topics?
So it'll be a staff report, and then a lot more than that, because it's going to be an interactive meeting.
right.
So it'll be some staff reports if possible. It depends on, like for the fire district metrics, I have an idea to kind of point us in the right direction. So I just want to share information with the board, get some feedback, things like that. It'll be a different conversation on that, the EMS system and how it works and what we can do to improve it. So I can, but there'll be some form of staff report, at least to help point the conversation in a direction.
Well, what I was gonna recommend is that, it be very open-ended kind of staff report with some basic data, maybe even some ideas that have been generated by staff. But I think the temptation here is to close it off and have the answer and deliver the answer to us, which gives us a 5-minute meeting and then it's over. So I would just say, please don't answer the questions.
I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all of these are, seem like are open-ended kind of questions that were, and it's about filling in the gaps for the board members. That's how I'm taking it, and fill in the gaps that I don't have, information I don't have, in order to try to make a honest decision about how, is this really a priority, or is this something we really need to engage in? But I think some of these areas, I mean, we have here is, hard decision has to be made in terms of whether, how far, if we do engage, how far do we have to engage or should engage in these activities, and does it take a priority? Does it create more brain matter space that we don't need to give out on the subject if it's not necessary?
I had another comment also, and that is that, I think some of these items, particularly the first two that you're talking about, maybe the first three, are heavily, I mean, these are discussion things where opinion is the primary thing here. But the last three, just like Robert was mentioning, the creek, for example, I think what we've done, I mean, we could have had another discussion tonight for an hour on one of these things. I'd like to see these put on a regular agenda, for example, the creek. Why not invite the person here and have her talk for 15 minutes or whatever? We could have a
That
brief,
was the original intent.
a brief discussion, and then we move on. And similarly with the Palo Alto Airport, some of this is just trying to understand the status of it, where it's going, and just information would help. Same with the electrification. Is this moving forward? Are other agencies doing it? What's going on here? Because I don't think we can have much of a discussion without having some more knowledge of what's going on.
But that's what. Sorry, go ahead.
But I feel like, yeah, like tonight's meeting again, you know, we had lots of time to do one of these topics and we could have done it justice.
I think for me, you know, trying to eat 3 eggs at one time is really hard in a time period and without staying to midnight to get certain things done. I think the brain tends to shut down. You know, we've been here ever since 5 o'clock to try to tackle on another 2 hours to try to tackle one of these topics. You know, my brain shut down after a certain period of time. You know, being in an environment where you have subject matter experts coming in to share their knowledge about the subject matter so that it can enhance whatever knowledge we don't have, that we can now say that, oh, now I know a little bit more about the subject, so maybe I can create an honest response myself to it. And if we're talking about trying to prioritize our workload as a board, which I think that's what these things are, we're saying that these are priority to us, then we need to really spend some time rather than an hour, you know, going over certain topics, and then trying to create some type of response to it. So anyway, I take what you're saying, I hear you. So we will try it out the first subject matter and then we'll see where that goes. If we need to cancel, we cancel.
I was just gonna say, I tend to agree with Chuck on this one. I think there's a big difference between discussion items, and the first three are meaty discussion items, which are really good in a study session format. The other three tend to be more informational. So as much as we have informational topics, I think we should try to squeeze those into board meetings and save study session type time for real meaty discussion items where we want to get opinions. The chief and staff are looking for ideas as well as answers. You know, that's a really good format for those, but I think in as much as we have information topics, I think on a general practice for the long-term health of the board, we'll end up with these laundry lists of things to be done in study sessions we'll never get to, when they could just be checked off as informational items in regular board meetings. So just for what it's worth, I'll just plant that seed of agreement on this particular one.
Chuck?
So if I may, this is still agendized under president's report, we're running a bit afield of that,
Okay.
getting into some substantive discussion.
I'm done.
Probably just bringing it in at this point.
Okay. So any other comments on the president's report? If not, then I think I'm done.
We're adjourned
We can be
at 9:04.
9:04.
So we're bringing these one.
Okay. Want to hit the gavel? Sure.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
That's all we need, John?
At 9:04, Michelle. In 53 seconds.
Thank you.
Really well.